Hey, how's it going? Coming back here to do my 2012 Halloween watch list. And as my watch list continues, I am showing you a countdown of the things I am watching, getting ready for Halloween, getting excited about Halloween, getting closer and closer every day. This is one of my all time favorite things for Halloween. Probably one of the strongest traditions, and I've included it this early in the month just because I can't really talk about it every day in the month, but I will watch most of these throughout the month of October. But what I want to say is that this is the Simpsons Halloween specials, which are the Treehouse of Horror. This was a tradition that went all the way back to 1990, and I did watch it in 1990 when the first one came on, and I was blown away. I love the idea of like these standalone episodes that really have nothing to do with the regular Simpson series, but it was also like an anthology. I had just been introduced to anthology horror like 4 or 5 years before this, just in the mid 80s, so I was really a big fan of the whole idea behind it. And the things that it paid homage to were all things that I was a fan of too. The first one, and I'll just show the VHS tape here, which is the Treehouse of Horror from 1990, was on the second season. If you have the DVD set, it's this one here, which is the complete second season. It's always towards the beginning of the season. Later on, it's almost always the first episode, but right now, it's at the beginning. It's like within the first few episodes. Usually it's on the first disc of each of those seasons, but this was the very first one. It started in the second season, and it had an interesting wraparound. The wraparound talked about a warning from Marge telling you that this was going to be scary, and it, basically telling you to be prepared and not to write them angry letters. Oh, I miss the days when the Simpsons were the ones that were the most controversial show on television. This has a really interesting opening. It's right out of Frankenstein, sort of, because Frankenstein's very notorious for that warning up front because they were attempting to tell people that this was going to be something that they'd never seen before and it was going to be scary. Marge does that, and then it starts right in with Homer's got a bag of candy, and he goes up to listen to Bart, Maggie, and Lisa, who are telling ghost stories. And Homer goes up the treehouse and he overhears these stories. And that's kind of the wraparound that gets everything going. The first story, Bad Dream House, is kind of a very 60s, 70s style haunted, Amityville horror, The Haunting, lots of movies like that, even a little bit of like The Poltergeist, all kinds of things similar to that. But it's a house that drips blood down the walls, and it tells the people to get out. But it's kind of a funny story where the Simpsons move into this house and it's too good to be true. And of course, when they get there, that's when they realize it's haunted, even though Homer got a really good deal. That one's pretty funny. I really enjoy how it ends. I don't want to really spoil it here because that's not what this is about. It's just talking about it, but it has a really funny ending. The next story that they talk about is my favorite from this first season, Hungry Are the Damned. Hungry Are the Damned is a play on the Twilight Zone episode, although you wouldn't know it at first. At first, I'll get to how it connects to the Twilight Zone here in just a second. They are in the backyard barbecuing, and a flying saucer hovers over them and takes them away. And the funny thing is, like how it even introduces that, it's got comedy even in that little segment, as the little laser things pick up each of the characters, each of the family members. The little light-powered gravity beam or whatever isn't even strong enough to pick up Homer because he's such a big guy that it actually has to use a second beam to help lift him up, and you can see how it struggles to get him off the ground. It's pretty funny. That always stuck with me. Once they get up there, this is where we're introduced to Kang and Kodos. Throughout the Halloween series, Kang and Kodos are the ones that continually return. Occasionally you'll see them on an off episode, just barely mentioned or seen or whatever, but for the most part, this is their home ground, is the Treehouse of Horror. Treehouse of Horror started off kind of using them as just a singular character in a story, but then they became kind of the embodiment of a Halloween character for this show. I really enjoy their story, and there is a connection to the original Twilight Zone episode of Serve Man That's kind of what this is a parody of. And it's kind of funny because it also turns it around, and there are several sequences where the Simpsons get the opportunity to say that that's what's happening, and then it's actually something else, and it flip flops, and it's just really funny. Just it's weird, but I like the sound on this episode. They did really good sound detail work, and it plays really well in the DVD, considering that DVD is a very old DVD. They probably could have reworked this episode to be a little bit more cleaned up nowadays, but I really, really enjoy. It's very odd the sounds that they make of them eating, and then the sounds of King Kodo's mouths as they move, and you don't really hear this much detail in the sound later on, but as the characters return for more and more episodes. And for the third segment of this episode, Treehouse of Horror, what we had was a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. I thought this was an odd choice. I'm really glad they did. I don't know if you could pull that off today. They have such a high expectation for the show. It's hard to do a full reading of classic literature, of a poem in today's television. I think it works out well because not only do they read it well, it's Bart as the Raven, and it's Homer as the main character as himself. Though it's really odd. Bart does different things as the Raven and says nevermore. Then you get Homer running around going, "Why you little," and dope. You get all those moments. So it is the full text reading accurately, but it's great to see that. Like I say, I don't know if they could pull that off nowadays. Matt Groening was saying that he was very concerned that would be a bad episode and that it would be really pretentious, is what I'd read. So I could see that. I'm glad, though, he did. I like it. I think it works really well, and it's fun. It's a classic nowadays. Then the wraparound comes back to, Homer is in bed and he's thinking about all the scary stories he heard, and they're really playing on his mind. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. You guys get a chance, definitely check out Treehouse of Horror from 1990. That's where it all began. They're on like Treehouse of Horror 22 or 23, I think now. It's way up there really high. They're basically, whatever the current season is, it's one less than that is what the Treehouse episode is right now. So if they're on season 24 now or whatever they are, then it is number 23. And I believe it is. I've DVR'd it, so I'm going to go back and watch it again. But as the time of when I did this, I hadn't seen it yet. These, of course, you can guess, are kind of pre-recorded and mixed up in different orders according to how I can work it onto YouTube. But I will be watching the new one, and by the time this uploads, I will have seen it. If you guys have never seen the original Treehouse of Horror from 1990, this is the VHS. There's the DVD. Definitely check that out. It's so much fun. If you are a fan of classic horror and sci-fi, this is right up your alley. Today's snack, because I'm watching The Simpsons and it's kind of in the morning time, I got some donuts. What else would go great with Simpsons except for donuts? You can't have a good Homer moment without a donut. So this one here is a maple donut. It's like a maple icing. That is so good. I haven't had maple in a long time. Perfect for The Simpsons, though. So for this little segment here, we talked about Treehouse of Horror, and I had a donut. Snack to go along with this. How could you even begin to enjoy Simpsons without a donut? That's right, a chocolate-covered donut. This is what I've been eating while I've been watching this. I got a little box of these the other day at Walmart from their fresh bakery. That's really good. Chocolate icing donut. Good stuff. But look at that. Such a classic. Donuts and The Simpsons. Can't go wrong. Hope you guys enjoyed this little mini video. Enjoyed the snack. Enjoyed The Simpsons. Definitely check those out. There's so many of them. Watch as many as you can. I will probably end up watching 10 or 15 of those this month, but I don't have time to talk about it on here. So I just wanted to cover the original because that's the classic where it all started. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. All right. Take care.